Welcome to Let's Talk Business. I'm your host, James Price. This podcast has been designed to address business pain points, often neglected, but if dealt with correctly, can really enhance business value and performance. I've had over 30 years experience in business, and I currently own JPO Business Proprietary Limited, a business valuation, advisory and transaction firm. We help private business clients across Australia and internationally grow, change and enhance the value of their businesses. Welcome to episode 4 of Let's Talk Business. I'm your host, James Price from JPO Business. And I've got the absolute pleasure of introducing Ben Gullo, who's the Managing Director of Reliable Food Distributors. Ben's business services Sydney Basin and Central Coast and down to Wollongong with food service offerings. I've known him many years and I think we're going to be excited about what he's got to say. Ben, welcome. It's great to have you.
Thanks, James. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. We go back a little way, yeah, but
quite a way.
But before we get into that, I got something I wanted to raise with you. Now, I watched my team last night, Parramatta, and unfortunately we sort of lost in the golden point at the end.
I tipped Melbourne, by the way.
Well, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. But it brings me to your office, and there's a certain jersey in your office. It's St George, isn't it?
It is.
So how
do we have to talk about that?
Oh, well, look, it's the ups and downs of, the happy dragons. How are they going to go?
We're not real happy at the moment, James.
How are they going to go this year, eh?
Look, if you finish
in
the top 10, I'll be happy.
Well, you never know. You beat us well and truly last year in one game, but
I can tell you we haven't won a wooden spoon for a very long time.
Oh well, that's something to behold. Maybe there's an opportunity this year.
I hope not.
Yeah,
but thanks for asking.
No, that's a pleasure. That's a pleasure, Ben. Anyhow, back to business. But good luck on the Dragons this year, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, as a young one growing up. I don't know, did you grow up in Sydney? Or?
I did. I grew up in Ashfield.
In Ashfield in Sydney. So, were you ever sort of, in those early years, your teen years and early 20s, did you think you'd go into business?
I did, but I left school halfway through year 9.
Right.
Because I wanted to go to work.
Yeah.
And I was actually working in a butcher shop after school, cleaning up.
Where? Yeah.
In Ashfield.
Yeah.
You remember the old butcher shops near the railway station?
Yeah, I do. Very definitely. Yeah.
And one day the boss came up to me and said, "Ben, if you know any of your schoolmates, we're looking for a first-year apprentice."
Yeah.
I said, "Okay." Anyway, I thought about that and I thought, you know what? Pretty good here.
Yeah.
So I went home and I remember cornering Dad and saying, I think I want to leave school. And he looked at me with that look and I thought, should I run or... And he said, "Leave school? You've got to be kidding me." Yeah. I said, "And what are you going to do?" He said. I said, "Well, Dennis is looking for a first-year apprentice in the butcher shop. I want to become a butcher." And he said, "Oh, you want to go to work?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay then."
Yeah, that's
because
all right.
Back in those days, being Italian, you could leave school and go to work.
Yeah.
But you couldn't leave school and do nothing.
No.
So before I knew it, I was leaving school and I started an apprenticeship, went to Granville TAFE.
Yes.
Became a butcher, owned a couple of butcher shops along the way.
Did you?
I did.
I did. Really?
I did. As a young guy.
Yeah, right.
First one, I was 21.
Right.
Owned a butcher shop in Ashfield.
Really?
Yep. Sold that. Then had another one in Hurlston Park.
Right.
And then I sold that and went and worked for someone. When something, I don't know,
didn't feel right?
Yeah, it just didn't feel right anymore. And we were getting deliveries from chicken supplier.
Mm.
He said, "Oh, we're looking for drivers," and I thought, "Geez, that'd be all right, a truck driver." So from being a butcher, I became a truck driver.
Did you?
Yeah.
And that was the employed role, was it?
Yeah. So I actually started working for Bayada, the chicken
right,
one.
the chicken one.
Yeah, I did 10 years with them.
Is that right? So you're in a food distribution business now, and you chopped up meat and you drove trucks. So you did a bit of homework beforehand, didn't you?
Yeah, look, at Bayada I started as a truck driver. I became distribution manager.
Right.
I ran the night shift for a while, and I finished up in sales.
Right.
So I did a big circle.
So you got logistics experience, like stock and warehousing, and then you got the front end, the sales, business development.
Correct. Yeah. And then from there, me and my wife always wanted to open a cafe. So we did.
Is that the Italian influence coming through?
It was just something we always wanted to do. We always used to say, "Geez, it'd be great to open a cafe, a good experience."
Yeah. Was it great?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Really enjoyed it. We did it for just over 2 years.
Yeah.
We opened one in the shopping centre. It was a bit hard. The kids were young.
Mm-hmm.
So, shopping centres, 7 days, public holidays, and
It was full on.
full on.
Yeah.
Full on. But yeah, great experience. We did really well at it. Then we sold that.
Yeah. Well, let me draw a breath there, right? Because 2 butcher shops and a cafe. And when you sold it, how old were you? Roughly.
When I sold the cafe in, I think, 2003-ish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Give or take a year or two.
Yeah. So those 3 experiences, right? And we can talk about the employed experience, which is really interesting. I mean, a 10-year stint there, and Bayada is a significant player.
Yeah.
But those 3 business ownership experiences in your early days, like, what are the things that you learned out of those that you reflect on or use today? I mean, there's obviously a bunch, right?
Yeah,
But is there any that really stand out?
Oh, look, I mean, every business we had was customer service.
Yes.
Probably the biggest part.
Yes.
The butcher shops, people are walking in off the street, and same with the cafe.
Yeah.
There's the quality of the product that we were selling them.
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of that we use today. I use today in at Reliable.
Business. Yeah.
Customer service.
Yeah.
The quality of the product.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Yeah.
A lot of it from back then. But it just, look, as a young person, it just, it's taught me so much along the way.
Yeah.
And being hands-on, you can always look at it from the customer side.
Yes.
When they're talking to you about something.
Yeah.
So.
And you were hands-on in each of those 3. Yeah.
Very hands-on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really neat experience.
Mm.
And how much of a challenge was it to be employed by someone for 10 years?
Yeah.
Having done that. Right?
Look, back then it wasn't bad. I actually enjoyed it just because I suppose I learned a lot from it. Like I said, I started as a truck driver and finished in sales.
Yeah.
So I learned what it was like to hire people, fire people, what it was like to really look at how a business looks at budgets and sales, and so
the planning side of
it's just really. And I actually, sometimes when I'm sitting down with the team at work, I'll reference something and I'll say, that's how we used to do it back at Bayard.
Yeah.
And you can see where they are now as a business.
Yeah, they're huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I think, I think I had a couple of good mentors there as well.
Do you?
Yeah.
Which made a big difference?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know my boss, he was tough.
Was he?
Yeah.
How? In what way?
Just, he knew what he wanted in the business. I think he got the best out of his people.
Yeah.
If you didn't fit in, well, you just didn't fit in.
That was it.
But yeah, look, I just think, had goals, and he used to share the data with us, and it was meeting after meeting after meeting, but you really used to get a lot of satisfaction out of what you were looking at and what you were doing, and we used to celebrate big goals. And
so does those sort of experiences, have they shaped the Ben Gullo of today?
Yeah, I think they have. Yeah. Look, I think my biggest mentor, if I really want to say it, I think my biggest mentor was my boss when I was a butcher.
Right.
He was a perfectionist.
Right.
The customer was never wrong.
Yes.
Very old-fashioned.
Yes.
But, really taught me how to run a business.
Yeah.
Back in those days, it was just different. It was all about the service back then, and just how we did things, and very different to today.
What sort of culture was it? If I was a customer and I walked into that butcher shop, how would I feel? How was I treated?
You'd feel like you walked into, your family.
Yeah, right.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We knew everyone by their first names, and they just kept coming back week after week, and it was incredible. It was incredible. And Dennis and his wife, they were like my second parents.
Yeah, right.
They took me in, and it was just fantastic. Fantastic. But, they really taught me a lot about business.
Yeah.
They actually, when I started there, I was 15. So they actually taught me a lot about life.
Yeah, as well. Yeah.
I was there for 5 years.
Yeah.
I think I was still working for them when I got married. I got married when I was 20.
Right.
They, even when I got together with my wife, I mean, they were around, and
right. So they had a big impact on
big impact. Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. And what about your Italian heritage? Has that had an impact?
Big impact.
Has it?
Yeah, it has. It has.
How? Is that why you're in food, or what?
Look, in both. I suppose the biggest thing is, being Italian and just ethnic in general, not just Italian, but we're, I grew up spending the weekend with, all the cousins that come over, and, that was life back then. I mean, when I was a butcher, we used to open Thursday nights and we'd close at 1 o'clock on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And that was it. Sunday was family day. So, it's not like now, we go out on a Sunday and, half the family's missing because this one's working, and there's just so many things happening. So it was just different back then compared to today. Life wasn't as quick, and it was just different.
You could enjoy it more.
100%. Whereas now it's just go.
Yeah.
I know I looked at my watch today and it was 1:10. I was like, God, I've got to be here at 1:45, and I'm quickly flicking off an email, and there were no emails back then.
But the godsend was that you knew that you were coming to a good place.
Yeah.
You'd be looked after.
100%. Definitely. I wouldn't have come if I didn't know that.
Must have taken, having run 2 businesses and owned them, right? Butcher shops, and learned a lot from that. Did you stumble into the employed piece, or is it that you, having sold the second business, you thought, I'm not just sure what I'm ready to do, but I need some experience in X and Y and Z? How did that employed period unfold?
At Boyardi, you're talking about?
Yeah.
No, I was sick of butchering. I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
And I thought, being out in a truck, out on my own, I wouldn't mind giving that a go.
Right.
I just wanted to do something different, and I just thought that would have been all right.
Yeah, good.
And that's how that started.
And then it led to...
it just progressed from there.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. So, funny story, I remember I slept in on my very first day. And my boss at the time, who I'm really good mates with still today, said to me, if it happens again, you'll be looking for another job. It's all good. It won't happen again. We still talk about that today.
You learned the lesson.
I did.
But so cafe, and you sold that.
Yeah.
And then How did this Reliable Food Distributors business come about?
So when I was at when I had the cafe, I had just a really small version of Reliable supplying me.
Right.
And it was a guy and his dad. And his dad was one of my mentors at Reliable when I went into sales.
Right.
He'd been there for years and years. I think he was there for 37 years or something.
Really?
And he used to deliver to me at the cafe.
Yeah, right.
And one day I said to him, I said, Leo, I really like what you do. If I ever get out of here, I said, I wouldn't mind doing something like you.
Yeah.
If you know anyone that's selling, business like yours. Anyway, one day he came in, he goes, Ben, you know what? I met a guy, he's got this little small goods run and he wants to get out.
Yeah.
And we were going through the transaction.
Yes.
So I said, yeah, okay, I'll have a chat to him.
Yeah.
And I did. I met him at City Extra, Parramatta. So yeah, I had a look at what he was selling, which wasn't much. It was an old clapped out Ford Transit van and a tucker box freezer and a mobile cool room. Was turning over next to nothing, working 4 days a week.
Yeah, right.
But I looked at it and I thought, I can do something with this. I can build on this.
Yeah.
Because I thought starting from nothing, it's hard. Like, how do you go and get your first customer?
Yeah.
And where do you get your supply for that first customer?
Yeah.
So I thought if I buy something really little where there's, he's already buying.
You've got the elements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And I went to the solicitor, and when he looked at what I was buying, he looked at me like, what are you buying?
There was nothing here.
I said, I'm buying a Ford Transit van, a tucker box, and a mobile cool room. So yeah, and look, I didn't want to do it alone because I thought if my vision comes true, it's going to be really hard on my own because, my kids, 18 years ago, they were still young.
Yeah.
So I had two cousins working at Biata with me, and I approached them, Michael and Sam, and I said, I want to buy this business. What do you think? And they liked the idea, and they said, yeah, we're in.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So we said, okay, well, I'll start on my own because there's not enough for three of us.
Yeah.
And we'll look at maybe, 6 or 12 months down the track.
Transitioning them in.
One of them will come in and, we're just going to go slow. So, yeah, I went with this guy for 2 weeks just to learn the ropes, and then he was supposed to stay with me for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So after the 2 weeks, it was a Friday, and he said, I'll see you Monday. I said, you know what? Don't worry. I'm all
I think
good.
I got this.
I got this. He goes, are you sure? In the contract, I'm supposed to stay with you for 2 weeks. I said, no, I got this.
Yeah.
Thanks. And that was it on the Monday. On the Friday, I took the mobile cool room home and plugged it in. And away we went.
So Ben, I'm gonna move, right?
Yeah.
From the mobile cool room and the van and a couple of sundry pieces. Now, could you describe what the business is today?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to give us a feel for, you mentioned vision, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is the reality of it.
Yeah.
What is it today? Talk to us in size and shape and
today we employ, I think, around 35 staff, 8 or 9 trucks on the road, I think, 4 sales people, a general manager. We turn over well in excess of $20 million.
Do you have the tucker box cool room?
I do have a tucker box cool room. But that's at home. And we're just about to move from 1,000 square metre warehouse to a 3,000 square metre warehouse.
Wow.
And that's where the business is today.
And that's in Preston's?
Preston's, yeah.
And how does that make you feel?
Makes me feel really good.
Yeah?
Really good, yeah. A lot of satisfaction, a lot of stress along the way.
How long between the tucker box and
18 years.
18 years, yeah?
18 years, yeah. I used to have hair back then.
Oh, really?
I did.
I don't recall.
Not a lot, but I had a little bit. Yeah,
that's fascinating. That's fascinating.
Yeah,
and something to be very proud of, right?
Yeah,
and
and I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I can see that. I mean, it's all very well to say, that was then and this was now, but we know as business owners, you go through a lot of ups and downs to sort of get to that stage. Right?
Yeah.
But going back and getting rid of the guy after the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't but reflect on what you've told me, that you must have had a fair bit of confidence then, right? Because you'd had these 2 butcher shops, you'd run them. You'd worked for Bayada for a block of 10 years, and you'd got a whole bunch of experience on warehousing and trucking and sales. So, if you look back on it, you had a few of the tools and the capability, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you not?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
But interestingly, you also, despite the fact that you were just buying a few little assets, it's all very well for me to say that, it sounds like you had a bit of a risk management head, because you said, I'm going to share this with my cousins. I'm not going to pounce in and take 100% of it.
Yeah.
Hey? Is that the Ben Gullo? He's a bit of a risk manager?
It was more, so I'm like, things like that I always, sit down and talk to the wife. And she's probably been my biggest help over the years, because she's a really good driver.
Yeah.
Always tells me to put, just do it. You'll be right. You've done it before.
Right. Okay.
And even with this business, we spoke about it. I mean, our kids were younger.
Yes.
They were training, soccer training and doing. So it was, put a big strain on her as well.
Yeah.
Because, she had to take over a lot of the kids' stuff.
Yeah.
So we sort of thought, well, if we do it on our own, there's going to be no holidays, and if the bigger it grows, the bigger the monster grows. It's going to be a lot of work for one person.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's where the cousins came in. We thought, at least if there's 3 of us,
you're sharing the load.
We're sharing the load, of course, yeah. So that's how that came into it.
And in hindsight, would you do it that way again?
That's a really good question.
There's no right answer. Of course,
no,
right?
and it's a hard one. It's a hard one. Being really upfront and honest, I probably wouldn't.
Right.
And not, I mean, you learn things as you...
Is that just simply because people have different drives?
Yeah,
different
100%.
objectives and what have you?
Different views,
Yeah.
Probably for that reason.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not, there's been no issues or conflicts or, you just, if you said to me, the question you just asked, if I've got to be upfront, blunt and honest, no, I wouldn't.
But we're all a lot wiser in hindsight, aren't we?
100%.
And you talked to me about the reasons why you did it at the outset, and they seem to me to be very plausible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. You know what I mean? Look, I was lucky too. I mean, look, my 2 business partners let me run the show. They were great for manual labour and that, but, if I've got to be honest, I mean, I ran the business and made a lot of the decisions moving forward. Yeah. But they were,
but they respected that, right?
100%. Yeah. We all had our roles,
Yeah.
One of them looked after the warehouse, one of them looked after the financial side. So we all had our roles, and, there was no conflict. And if there was, we spoke about it.
It was sorted out.
Yeah.
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 Behind the warehouse.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah.
And what about today? Are those guys still in the business? Or
one's not.
Yeah.
So one actually got out just before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
He'd done his time.
It was focused on other things.
Yeah, he just, he was happy where the business was, didn't want to grow anymore, and just different stage of his life.
Yeah.
Which, fair enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I ended up buying his share out.
Did you, man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's, just myself and Sam.
Sam, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember meeting you, Sam, and I think Michael. In those very early days. And it was a bit like going into a mezzanine lounge room. So I think there was one desk. There was a sort of I'll call it a couch.
Yep.
And a and there was a few filing cabinets and papers. And I don't know whether there was a ping pong table or something. I'm not sure, but it was very, very slim, if you like, right?
Very slim.
And you know, not much freezer space or anything. I think there was one vehicle, maybe two. And so, you know, the business has gone a long way from then. But they're the physical things, aren't they? If you think about the non-physical things, like what do customers say about Reliable Food Distributors, do you think?
Look, I think customers, from what I hear, they love our service. As the name says, we're very reliable.
Is that the point of difference?
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
100%.
Yeah.
100% point of difference. Yeah.
So your business model is focused around that, right?
Always, from day one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we never wanted to be like anyone else. We wanted a point of difference, because if we're like someone else, then it just comes down to the price.
Yeah.
You know, if a customer's looking at two suppliers and we're both the same, well, who's got the best price?
So reliable, what does it mean? What does it mean to you when you say that's your point of difference? Does it mean that, you know, as a customer, I feel like, you know, I can count on you
100%
to deliver what I need?
Yeah. Our slogan is when service counts.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
And so what do those customers look like? Are they kebab shops? Are they, you know, cafes like one that you owned? Are they service clubs? Are they, you know?
Predominantly we're cafes. That's probably the biggest part of our business.
Yeah.
So when we first started, we were predominantly takeaways, fish and chip shops.
Were you? Yeah.
And then, the market just changed. So we followed the cafe market, which I think we made the right decision. So today, it's predominantly cafes. We still do a few takeaways. We do a few clubs. Yeah. But the bulk of our business is cafes, and that's what we're very good at. So that's what we try and stick with. Yeah. I mean, look, we do it all well, but cafes are just, you know, we've got everything there for what they need. Yeah. You know? Okay. Yeah. Whereas, you know, if we went and picked up a delicatessen, we don't have everything they need. Yeah. You know, we would have to outsource products, and so we don't go chasing what we feel is not our target market. You know, our target market is the cafe, the club.
Yeah, it's interesting, and like your market is a pretty competitive little show, isn't it? Like there's a lot of players, some big corporates involved in that game. So you're an independent, right? Yeah. So I guess you've got to have a really clear point of difference. Otherwise, you're going to be run over in the crowd a bit. Potentially, is that right?
Look, yes and no. Look, I think we've been out there long enough now to, you know, we sometimes like to take on the big boys.
Do you?
Well, why not?
Why not?
You know.
Hey. So you're you've got to be confident to do that, right?
Yeah. Look, I think, with the team that we have, I think I can be confident. You know, I always say, you know, we're only as good as the people around us. Yeah. And I think that we've got the right people. Yeah. And I'm very confident. And I'll take anything on.
You know, that must be heartening in running a business to know that you've got the backing of a strong team. I mean, what does Ben Gullo do in the business now? You know, what do you focus your time on?
I actually work on the business and not in the business. So I have nothing to do with the day-to-day running of the business. I work at the moment. What I'm working on is the new warehouse. Yeah.
So more strategic stuff in terms of,
you know, talking to the accountant, talking to the solicitor, like things a business owner would do.
Coming and doing podcasts.
Doing podcasts, or 100%.
So how long has it been since you've been able to? Was that a transition, or did one day you get up and say, "Bugger that, I'm going to get out of this business. I want to work on it"? How did that happen?
So, being really honest, I think it was back in 2015 or 16. We went to our accountant's office. You know, they had a speaker there doing he was actually a business coach, doing a presentation. And we went, and I had a look at this presentation, and the more he spoke, the more I thought, like, he's talking about reliable. And it was just like unbelievable. So when the presentation finished, I mean, the guy's name's Ivan Gavrin.
Yes.
I went up and had a chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said to him, I told him what his presentation, what it meant to me. And I said, I'd like to talk to you about it. And at the time, he had a thing called a beep test.
Right.
Where, they talk to your staff, talk to your customers, and they come back and
give you a feel for what.
Yeah.
So
I thought, what have I got to lose? Like, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And he did it. It was an eye-opener,
Was it? Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? We brought him on to give us a push.
Some support.
And we were just moving into our new warehouse then from the mezzanine.
From the mezzanine to the new warehouse.
Into the 1,000 square metre warehouse. So, that was a bit scary at the time.
Yes.
So, Ivan came on board, and, the first thing he said was, so if we were down a staff member or that, Ben would jump in a truck and go do deliveries and
get on the tools, so to speak.
I'd get on the tools, and the first thing he said was, all right, well, who's running your business while you're on the tools? And, I didn't have an answer to that question. So that was the first thing he started working on,
right.
Getting the owners out of the day-to-day running of the business and working on the business.
Yeah.
And that's how it all started. And
it's sort of gone from there.
Yeah. So he's really helped in that sense.
Was it a hard transition to go through that, Ben?
I'm a perfectionist. And to tell someone don't do it like that, do it like this. And my business coach is saying, don't tell them, like, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
And things like that was really tough, really tough. But now today, it's easy.
You're more comfortable in that environment.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I trust my people now.
I was going to mention that word, right? So that was obviously hard to give for a period, right? But now, the way you talked about your team a little while ago tells me that you've got supreme trust that...
Yeah. Look, the beauty with my team is that nearly all my managers grew into their role.
Yes. Okay.
They didn't come to me as managers.
Yeah.
So, we talk about Justine, general manager. She came to me as a telesales girl.
Yeah, isn't it? That's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, but from day one, I just saw something, just the way she was just on top of everything. And, she's actually got a, uni degree in international business.
Yeah, right.
And
and she's been the general manager for 4 years, Ben.
Yeah, 4, probably, maybe even 5. But fantastic.
The fact that they grew into the role, why is that important? Is that about sort of being able to mesh with the culture of the team rather than of being sort of, developed in another place under a different regime with different expectations? Do you think that?
Yeah.
Is that the defining point?
Well, they've bought into my vision.
Yes.
So I had my vision.
Yeah.
And they've bought into that. They believe it, and they've continued it.
Yeah.
They haven't come to me, like you said, from somewhere else and said, no, I don't like the way you're doing that. This is the way we did it at the other place. And just want to change everything.
Yeah.
So they've bought into my vision, which makes it easy for me.
Yeah.
Because I believe in my vision.
Yeah.
And so do they. So that's what's made it really easy.
So they're running the day-to-day. You're working on the business. If you get involved in what they do, what sort of things do you help them with?
So if I get involved, there's 2 things. They either tell me, don't worry, it's not your problem.
There is a problem, but it's not your problem.
That's right. Or, I never thought of that, thanks.
Yeah.
So depending what it is, we'll put our heads together but sometimes I'll hear something, and I'll say, what's wrong in that? And exactly what I said, they'll say, don't worry, it's not your problem.
Wow.
Because it's something that they don't need me for. They can deal with it.
Well, and they're obviously taking the initiative. They want to sort it out.
100%. But, sometimes they'll come knocking on my door and, they'll say, we need your help with this. And, whether it's smacking a supplier around or, or sometimes, we have customers that have been with us since day one. They'll come in my office sometimes and say, look, Alan, he really wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
So I'll call the customer, have a chat, and I still talk to customers today.
Yeah.
Last night I was SMSing a customer about the chip situation.
Yes.
I still like to get involved.
But a good business, so like I'm thinking of it from, as you know, we value a lot of businesses, right? And I think on the customer side and also on the supplier side, a strong business is one where there are multi-layers of relationships. You haven't got necessarily single relationships. So, notwithstanding that a customer might want to talk to the head honcho, they'll also have relationships within the day-to-day team.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that breeds a much stronger connection. I'm really interested to see how you've developed that team, particularly, as you say, from the start, I experienced you as a perfectionist, but I say that in a positive way, right? We both know there's pros and cons to that. But it's hard when you run a business and you create it because you've got to drive it, and it's like an adolescent. It's in its small stages, one false move and it could be down the toilet, so to speak. But then you get to a point where it's bigger than you, it's bigger than everyone, right? Yeah. So you've got to share it, so to speak. And you've kind of been through that transition.
Yeah. And look, I think, with this next move, everyone says to me, oh, it's exciting. I said, yeah, it's exciting and scary at the same time because it's a massive move.
So let's talk about that next move because, what's led to that? I mean, how far out, you're working on the business, how far out do you look? Are you looking out sort of 5 years and saying, well, look, I think there's an opportunity here which we haven't captured, and to do that we need to invest X and Y and Z, or how are you, or are you sort of planning in a near term and seeing where it goes? Like how do you play that game?
Yeah, look, I like to look a fair bit ahead. And I think in this business you need to.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say 5 years.
No.
But
3 maybe.
So I started looking for this warehouse just before COVID hit because we were, running out of room and I was a bit, do we, don't we, do we? So I just started looking and I actually found this warehouse. Where this warehouse is, there's, I think 5 or 6 warehouses.
In a group?
In a group, in a little private cul-de-sac. And I actually looked at a warehouse that was 5,000 square metres.
Really?
Wow. It was even bigger than what we got now. And then COVID hit. So I started talking to them. Yeah. Then COVID hit and I put that on the back burner.
Yeah.
And, we went through the COVID, all the ups and downs of good old COVID.
A challenging time.
And when it was all over, business went back to good and I started looking again. So I contacted the same people. The 5,000 square was gone. Someone had taken it.
Yeah.
And they had 2 warehouses left, 2 separate ones. And I said, well, they're no good. They're not big enough. And they said, what if we rip the wall out of the middle? Make 3,000 square metres. I said, well, yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
And honestly, I drove my wife mad. I'd go home every day and say, what do I do? Do we, don't we? And she kept saying to me, what are you still thinking about this for? You could do this. You've done it before. What are you still thinking about? I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's a big move and and we'd leave it, and a few days later, I'd say, I've got to make a decision on this warehouse, and I was actually honestly driving her mad.
Yeah.
She said, "You're driving me mad. Like, just do it. You'll never look back." We spoke about it at work and everything. Everyone was like, "We should do it," and bang, we did it. It happened, and away we went.
And how long is that space gonna be sufficient for? Do you think?
For me personally, that's it.
Oh, is it?
For them? Yeah, look, I mean, for me, I'd love to say, well, we might outgrow this in a few years, but it's a big space.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, I'd love to outgrow it.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll say a lot for the business.
Yes.
But my thought is not about outgrowing the space.
No.
The thought is about the business in that space and what we have to do to, make Reliable bigger. And I won't say better because I think we're the best as it is.
Yeah, no, that's good.
But like we're now starting to, we've been planning probably for 6 months already, putting on more staff, a bigger sales team, and because, moving into this space is going to give us room to expand, to bring on more customers. And
Now, I want to talk to you about that, but just before I go on to that, I mean, how good is it to have a life partner in your wife providing that kind of balanced discussion behind the scenes? I mean, that must...
priceless.
Yeah. Is that her involvement in the business? Does she get involved in the day-to-day?
No, she doesn't. She doesn't. So, funny story, when we started this business with, the two partners, we collectively made a decision that the wives weren't going to work in the business.
Yeah.
And that was, look, nothing against the wives, but I just, I like it better when you go home at night and you haven't seen your wife all day, and you know, and look, with getting 3 in there, I just didn't
think that
like the sound of it.
Yeah.
It could have worked fantastic. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
that's what
it's a decision that was made, and we stuck with it. And one of the wives actually did work in the business for a while because we were that strapped that, but yeah, it's just a decision that was made, and that was it. Yeah. So, and it's been like that ever since.
Yeah, but obviously on the strategy stuff, your wife, she plays a big role.
A lot off my wife. And the funny story is that, and she tells me a lot too, but I always go with my gut, and she tells me there's plenty of it. So,
well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But before we get on to that, growth.
Yes.
Right? You've just invested in this new warehouse, and you're about to flick the switch. I think it's a really important topic. How do you in your business, how do you manage growth, right? Because I feel like there's this view that, I just want to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and I want to grow my sales, and that's what I measure my performance on. Do you know what I mean? And I see a lot of businesses do that, and some do it successfully, and others, grow this line, but the other line goes like this, and then the cash line even goes worse. I mean, have you experienced that challenge in Reliable, and how do you go about sort of making growth be sustainable, I guess?
So look, we have a CFO, not full-time, obviously. I've got a bookkeeper that's been with me since nearly day one. So we're constantly looking at numbers, and if we need to, change things up, we're very responsive. One of the things during COVID with our suppliers, I was actually sending my suppliers a payment plan for the next month, so they knew exactly what they were getting, when they were getting it, and we've always been like that.
Yeah.
We've always been the type of business that we would go out and get the business first and then buy the truck.
Yes.
Rather than buy the truck and then go and chase the business.
Yep.
And we've been like that since day one. Some people might say we're cautious. Yeah, to an extent, yeah, we are.
Yeah, but you sort of demand is driving the business investment rather than the reverse.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. I just don't believe, I tell these people the story a lot, I'm not the type of person that goes and gets a warehouse and fits it out and goes and buys 10 trucks and so on and then wakes up one morning and says, oh, I better go get some customers now. I'm the opposite.
Yeah, you prove it up first.
Yeah. And look, it's worked for 18 years.
There must be something in it. Yeah.
Correct. So, the old saying, if it's not broken, don't try and fix it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the way I've always done it, and that's the way I want to keep doing it. It's worked. But with the growth, look, we we've put on some more sales staff and telesales, and so we're already, even myself personally, I've been working on a group that have 30 shops for 18 months.
Really?
Yeah.
As business development?
Yep. And we just got them. And it's taken me personally 18. Well, funny story is I worked on it for 18 months. I took Justine, my general manager, to
she got it over the line.
A meeting, and she got it over the line.
Ben.
And she never lets me live it down.
I know. She shouldn't either.
But, that's how long sometimes it takes to get a client over the line. 18 months, and it was frustrating.
Does that mean you're a patient person?
Sometimes. I'm not patient, but you have to be.
You have to be.
Yeah. I wouldn't call myself a patient person.
No.
I'm probably impatient.
Right.
And if I want a customer, I'll just keep plugging away at it, until I know that
there's no chance. Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Justine on the thing.
Yeah. But look, she's, I put in the foundation. We've got the customer, but she's got all the work now.
Yeah, but there's the team effort, right?
Correct.
And it's,
are
you celebrating that success?
100%.
Because it's,
100%.
Yeah.
It's a big win for us.
That's
a really big
That's
win.
massive. Yeah.
And we do. Yeah, definitely, we do celebrate that success.
I've got a couple more questions. Technology.
Yes.
And there's an array of stuff going on in our world, and it keeps going on. How is it impacting the simple life of a food distributor? Is it impacting, or is the core business that it was 18 years ago still going to be the same?
Are you talking about things like social media, marketing, that type of stuff?
All of that. Also, whether there's technology to assist in the efficiencies of your back office or your warehousing or whatever. I mean, is that a big play in your sector?
So we just launched a mobile app in January.
Yeah.
Because, that's where it's all headed now.
In terms of people ordering the front end?
Yeah. So right now we're working on the web version of that mobile app so people can go on their computer and order as well. Look, we're keeping up with all that. When we go into the new warehouse, everything's going into the cloud.
Yes.
We have some stuff there now, but we've actually held off because of the move.
Yes.
But once we go there, we're going fully cloud-based, which will help. So we're actually setting up so if the internet goes down in our warehouse today, so we can't operate. The new warehouse, if the internet goes down, we'll still operate.
You'll still be okay.
We're foolproofing it.
Yeah, right.
I'm very... So my girls, if they have a computer problem or an IT problem, so I've got IT people that we use, but the first port of call is myself.
Yes.
And they, they say to me, how does an old man know so much about IT? But I've always had an interest in that sort of stuff.
Have you?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I'm not, don't get me wrong, I can't build a computer so if one of the girls call me and tell me they've got a computer problem, the first thing I say to them is, have you restarted your computer? No, restart it, and if you've still got the problem, call me.
So it's common sense.
99% of the time they don't call me.
Yeah.
So yeah, but social media, I'm very, very big on social media. I truly believe that it drives a business these days.
Yeah, okay.
So the business is very big in that space.
Yeah.
You know, we put plenty of social media out there, and I actually outsourced it for a little while, wasn't happy, brought it back in-house. One of our girls, Selena, who looks after it and does a fantastic job.
So why are you so big on it? Is it just different channels to connecting with your market and customer and community?
Look, I just think that you know, people see and it gets our brand out there, and and that's what I want. I want people. Our social media tells people what our company's all about. It doesn't just tell them that, you know, we sell chips.
No.
You know, we have a meet the team and all this other stuff that, you know, I want our social media to tell people, you know, exactly what Reliable is about. It's a family business, what our culture's about.
Yeah.
It's more than just a post about products.
Yeah, so you see it as a good communication
100%,
medium.
I'm really big on that.
I never thought of you as a tech head, but there you go.
Yeah, we'll see. There you go.
Ben, it's been a real pleasure having a chat with you. I got one last question, right? There's a lot of passion behind what you've talked about today.
Yep.
And whenever I meet you, I get the same passion. What gets you up in the morning to work on this business?
I love it, James. I love my people. I love the business. I love what we do. You know, I think we get a lot of recognition for the good work that we do.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of our business we probably get more word of mouth business than cold calling business, which to me tells a story.
Yeah. So someone's prepared to say to someone else, listen, talk to these guys because they're good, so to speak. Yeah.
And it's just every day is exciting.
Yeah.
It's just, there's never a dull day. Very stressful, but it's exciting. I jump out of bed in the morning and, you know, I want to go see the team and see what's happening, where we're going, what we're doing.
Yeah.
What's in the pipeline?
Yeah.
It's just that's what drives me.
Very, very good, Ben. I really appreciate you coming.
No, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's been lovely, and good luck for the Dragons this year.
No worries, chokers.
The Eels.
Years have got that brand now.
Oh no, it's terrible, isn't it? Hey, God.
All good. Thanks, James. Really appreciate it, mate.
No, it's good to have you along.
Thank you.
That was Ben Gullo, Managing Director of Reliable Food Distributors. And what an interesting path that he's taken in terms of building his capability, owning, well, I guess his latest business is his fourth business, and, you know, focusing on the customer, building his team, and managing growth. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to this podcast and follow us on Instagram at JamesC_Price. And if you're up for improving your business, gaining access to knowledge, insights, our team, and consultations, join our online membership portal. Visit jpabusiness.com.au.